Hi, everyone. I'm Lien, a project manager on Security Compass's advisory team. And today I'm here to talk to you about continuous penetration testing as an approach to product security. I also have with me Jordan Haine, my co-presenter, who is a developer on the SD Elements platform. And he will talk about how we've applied this approach to SD Elements specifically. Before we start, though, just a brief bio about us. So prior to joining the advisory team to help manage different pen testing programs, I worked on the product side in various roles, but mostly as a product manager. I'm very familiar with the software development, product development lifecycle, and have many years of experience working with different agile methodologies such as Scrum, Kanban, and SAFe. Over to you, Jordan.
Thanks, Leanne. Hey, everyone. I'm Jordan. I'm a software developer on the SD Elements team who also brings many years of software development experience, largely with a focus on application security.
Great, thanks, Jordan. So before we begin discussing what continuous penetration testing is and how it works, we have to understand how this topic came about. One of the challenges for organizations when it comes to product security is that pen tests are generally conducted annually to fulfill compliance and audit requirements at the behest of security teams and or stakeholders. The problem with this approach is that many companies have adopted agile methodologies to ship code quickly and iteratively in shorter cycles. This means that between each annual pen test, organizations will have code on production with known vulnerabilities and unknown vulnerabilities because the code is constantly changing with each release. What is true of the state of the product once the pen test has been completed may not be true after the next release, which could very well be 2 weeks later. Additionally, vulnerabilities discovered during annual pen tests do not get remediated in a timely manner because there is an implied 1 year timeframe to fix it. Although some teams may fix criticals and high findings very quickly, mediums and lows often languish. From a product security standpoint, whatever changes are introduced in each subsequent release are simply not thought of from a security standpoint until the next pen test, if at all. And this creates even more opportunities to widen the security gap. Overall, while annual pen tests are necessary to fulfill compliance requirements, it does not support product security in the best way possible because of the disconnect between an iterative development lifecycle and a yearly penetration testing schedule. Continuous penetration testing, sometimes also referred to as agile pen testing, is an approach to product security that matches the cadence of an organization's development lifecycle and integrates into existing security processes. The way it works is that the annual pen test establishes the baseline. This pen test is a comprehensive review of the entire application. Each agile assessment thereafter only focuses on newly developed features and or remediated vulnerabilities found from the previous cycle. This closes the gap between development and pen tests to ensure that code which is released to production has been assessed. These shorter agile assessments are then repeated throughout the year. This diagram is a slightly different view of continuous pen testing, but it illustrates how the program can be designed to integrate into an organization's existing agile processes. While the annual or baseline pen test is being executed, the program team would conduct a discovery workshop to understand more about the organization, such as their security requirements and processes, agile framework and methodology used, sprint and release cycles, and so forth. Based on the outcome of that discovery workshop, the program team would recommend a cadence for the pen test that will match the existing development and release schedule. It will factor in when and how scoping will be done, how vulnerabilities will be tracked and managed, and how vulnerabilities will be communicated back to the engineering team and stakeholders. What I really want to emphasize here is that the program team customizes the pen testing program so that there's minimal disruption to existing processes and workflows. The goal of continuous penetration testing is to integrate into an organization's software development lifecycle so that product security is baked into each release. So, what is the value of this? Why should organizations move to this model? With this approach, organizations are able to reduce risk and exposure to risk by reducing the time between deployment of live code and pen test. If right after an annual pen test, a vulnerability is introduced in the next iterative release, organizations are waiting almost a year or worse for the public to inform them to find out. This approach also enables organizations to prioritize security without sacrificing business goals. As stated earlier, the program strategy and methodology can be customized so that it aligns and integrates with an organization's business processes. By incorporating product security considerations into each release, product security is not an annual requirement or afterthought anymore. And thus, any vulnerabilities that are found can be remediated in a more timely manner. From a leadership perspective, the continuity the dedicated program team provides throughout the development and assessment lifecycle means that leaders can make more informed decisions when it comes to prioritizing new features, technical debt, speed to release, and security implications. So now that I've talked a lot about why we should do continuous pen testing, how the continuous pen testing program works, and the benefits of this program, I want to turn it over to Jordan, who will speak to how it has been applied to SDE.
Thanks, Leanne. As mentioned, today I'm here to discuss how this program has benefited us in practice. So I'll start with a brief overview of what SD Elements actually is. SDE is the flagship product of Security Compass. It's a platform that enables organizations to ship secure code faster and with more confidence. And just like everyone else, we need to secure our product too. So as part of the Agile pen testing program, the discovery phase took place in which the following was gathered. You see that on the left side of your screen, as mentioned previously by Leanne. So here's an overview of our processes inside SDE. We're an Agile shop with 5 Scrum teams and 1 DevOps team. Our release cycle is comprised of 3 2-week sprints. We have 3 development sprints with regression testing taking place during the final sprint. And then we have this concept of dogfooding. Well, what is dogfooding? I imagine some of you have heard the phrase eating your own dog food, but it can be put simply as the act of using our own product. Or not only are we developers of our own product, we are users, and it's a reliable part of our security workflow. And from a high level, this is our Agile process. We identify, estimate, and assign feature work to be completed by each team during the upcoming sprint. We map these requirements into SD Elements via our survey feature. We review the tasks and the potential security implications of implementing said features, and with the help of our expert content team. Risk policies help us filter high priority tasks, automation tasks to ensure tasks are there to ensure static scans are occurring, and we combine SDE survey results with Fortify and Jira to ensure full coverage.
The team that was put together to make this program successful is outlined on this slide. Team members will vary from organization to organization, but we wanted to highlight here, in general, the key players involved in running a program like this. On the advisory side, you have the engagement owner who is responsible for overseeing the entire program and is the point of escalation and resolution. The technical program manager, who is myself, is the main point of contact, and I'm responsible for managing the scope, budget, and schedules. I also help with metrics, reporting, and resourcing. The security advisor provides technical expertise throughout the duration of the program. Although different consultants may be assigned to each Agile assessment, the security advisor is responsible for knowing the application very well and providing that technical continuity. On the SDE side, we have the CISO and VP of technology, who are the program stakeholders. They are very supportive of this program because at the end of the day, they are accountable to the executive team and to SDE clients. The product manager and scrum master are responsible for tracking features and development work within each sprint. So, thus, it made sense for them to be involved in the scoping of each agile pen test. They also have the authority to make decisions on prioritizing remediations and retests. The DevOps team lead is responsible for any infrastructure changes to the platform, and thus they are included in the scoping discussions for each pen test. For SD specifically, the DevOps team lead also happened to be the main point of contact assigned to this program. And last but not least, Jordan is the engineering SME who is responsible for overseeing the security of the entire SD application, not just this program. When we customized the continuous pen testing program for SDE, we had to ensure that it fit into SD's existing security practices, like dogfooding, and that it added value for the team. So, what does this program look like when applied to SDE? The orange arrow shows SDE's existing processes. Nothing has changed in the development lifecycle since the introduction of Agile pen testing. The second blue arrow shows advisories processes. The first thing we do is conduct a baseline pen test, which can be performed outside of a release cycle. However, it informs the first Agile assessment. As Jordan mentioned, for SD, there are 3 sprints in each release, 2 development sprints, and 1 sprint dedicated to regression testing. At the beginning of the first sprint, we have a scoping meeting with the product manager, the DevOps lead, and Jordan to determine what should be included in the scope for the upcoming Agile pen test. This may include remediated vulnerabilities completed in the last cycle, new features and functionality that will be developed in sprint 1 and 2, any upcoming infrastructure changes, and any action items from the dogfooding process. On the advisory side, the security advisor is also present at this meeting to help guide what needs to be tested. At the end of the second sprint, when the majority of the development work has been completed, we meet with the SD team again to confirm that the development work committed to has been completed and can be pen tested. A consultant will be assigned to the Agile pen tests, and the SD engineering team will provide requirements in the form of user stories and release notes to help brief the consultant. Then, during the third sprint, the Agile assessment is conducted. It is generally mostly net new findings and remediated vulnerabilities. Once the assessment is done, a report is then provided to the stakeholders, and the vulnerability tracking sheet is updated with any new findings for the team to discuss, triage, and prioritize for the next release. And this cycle repeats again for the next release and continues throughout the year.
So as a result of implementing this program, we've actually already seen huge improvements compared to previous iterations. Because the strategy of the Agile pen testing program is to match the cadence of our release cycle and have pen tests occurring more regularly, we've been able to tighten the feedback loop. So we're getting expert guidance long before we ship code. This allows much closer collaboration between developers and security consultants, and much more focused guidance and insight on security vulnerabilities. And as mentioned previously, we've decreased the time spent remediating findings. This has also given us better visibility to make informed security decisions, as well as having a source of truth for ongoing results of the program. And not only that, it's also shed light on areas we can improve our existing processes to better enable everyone involved. We're transitioning to gathering security requirements earlier in our Agile process and tying it directly to ethics. Consultants will have more context when testing specific features, and it's enabled us to automate parts of this discovery process. Each Scrum team will also start using SD elements in a more focused and targeted way to ensure the code they're responsible for meets our high standards here at Security Compass.
What we hope you take away from this presentation is that software development has changed over the last 20 years. Many organizations are using some form of agile methodology to build and launch products. The approach to pen testing should evolve as well. Continuous pen testing, or agile pen testing, is a way to bridge the gap between iterative development cycles and annual pen tests to ensure that products released to market are tested and secure. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Jordan or myself.